Good morning. It's been a while, and I really don't have an excuse for that. I thought on a long run, while someone was having a crack at me over the weekend, that I'd figured out a really good excuse as to why it's been so long. And that was because after the marathon, I was recapped out, so I just couldn't get the enthusiasm to film this video. But then they called me on it, and here I am. So finally I'm back, and the purpose of this video today is to talk a little bit about my marathon, talk about the experience, talk about the decision making, and just unpack what went on. So if you've been waiting for this, sorry, and here you go. But for now, I'm just going to wander down to the Esplanade because it's quite early and everybody's asleep. Okay, so I found a spot to sit. Let's stop procrastinating. So about a month ago, I ran my first marathon and I've got a kick-ass medal and some awesome memories to show for it. The whole purpose of this video is to sit here and talk through my race weekend. It's to discuss my decision making and think about some of the mistakes and some of the things I would change if I was to do this again. Anyway, the aims going into the block were pretty open. I'd never run a competitive marathon before. Okay, some sprinklers have just come on, and I'm worried the sprinklers around me are going to come on. Here's hoping we're okay. Anyway, so the aim going into the block, I'd never run one before, and I really just wanted to run across the line. The couple of times that I'd tried to run a marathon, I'd blown up. I hated it. I felt terrible, and I'd had to stop and walk, and I couldn't get through that distance. So I really wanted to change that, and to me, doing that probably meant running something under 3:30. That plan got revised over the block. It wasn't me revising it, it was my coach. He really saw a lot in me and saw a huge development in that period. So really revised that goal down, and we started aiming for 3 hours towards the end of it. I wasn't confident at all throughout the block, but then in the last couple of weeks, I started to buy into it and really talk myself into running 3 hours, because one of the things that we talked about was that if I was going to do that sort of time, then I needed to believe that I could. Then the weather hit 30 plus degree temps, and we knew that was going to happen. So we revised the goal down to just going out and running 420s, somewhere between 420 and 430, based on what felt good on the day. So the predicted finish time was anywhere between 3:02 and 3:09, and so stupid me had in my head 3:05, and that became more of a fixed goal, and that to me was one bit of decision making that I got wrong. When we revised that goal down, it should have been more to feel, and I should have let go of the 3 hour thing. So my race weekend started on Friday. I flew in Friday night, stayed in Sydney Airport. Dodgy room, but I was in bed as early as possible, and I think that was a really good decision, was to stay out of the airport, because the expo was out at the airport, so a lot of people would travel into the city and then they would travel all the way back out the next day just to get to the expo, whereas I was already out there, so it saved a bit of commute time, it saved a bit of wasted time for me. Got up Saturday morning, 20-minute shakeout. It was good to get out in the early morning and assess the weather. Being from such a different climate, I was a little bit worried about what it was going to be like and how I was going to feel in that race. So I was able to start making decisions about what to wear and bag drop and stuff like that, because I'd had all these plans around what I was going to do around bag drop and had been thinking about that. And then I realised, no, it is actually warm enough. I'll be okay to just go in a singlet. I had a terrible breakfast, went to Macca's because it was a dodgy hotel and there was just nothing around. Started with good intentions to drink lots and really was smashing down the water. I walked to the expo. Mistake number one was leaving the water bottle in the fridge at the hotel room and getting halfway to the expo and realising I didn't have it. So I went and bought another one on the way and plowed that down. So like I say, started with really good hydration intentions. Mistake number two was the 2.5k walk to the expo. I should have taken an e-bike. I wish earlier in the weekend I'd discovered those e-bikes. So if you're in a major city preparing for a marathon, e-bikes are your best friend. Find them, use them. They're cheap as chips, and just save your legs for the weekend. The expo was really easy, and then I got into the city. Anyway, I went and met my brother and his family in the city. It's been a number of years since I've seen him, so basically the plan was to just spend the afternoon with his family. I did too much walking, but I don't regret that at all, because most of that was on a playground, running around with my nieces and nephews and hanging out with them at a museum. I had an opportunity to spend time with family, so I took it. Anyone who watches this will know that that's what I do. I end up getting back to a city hotel that I was staying at the night before, got an hour or so in there, managed to cool down and relax, and chucked as much water in as possible. I went back out for dinner and grabbed some pastries for breakfast, and just tried to punch as much food in as I could that night. Unfortunately, though, that was a little bit too late. I should have, in hindsight, spent the day eating, but I didn't do that. Anyway, I got my gear ready. One of the great things I did was I had a cold bath before bed, and that worked a treat. It just cooled me right down, and I fell straight to sleep after it. It was awesome. Because I was feeling really nervous, feeling really antsy, worried that I hadn't prepared enough. I was worried that I hadn't done enough resting the night before, and that I was going to have a terrible night's sleep, and blah, 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 blah. Like, all that anxiety was going through my head. And the cold bath just went away, and it was fantastic. So anyway, I was in bed asleep at around 8. So Sunday morning, alarm went off at 4 a.m. Toilet, shower, coffee, breakfast, and I met my brother at 5:45. We walked down to the station. There were packed trains. The atmosphere was absolutely electric. By this stage, the nerves had sort of gone away a bit. What was incredible was the sight, and I couldn't capture it on camera properly. As we popped out of the tunnel, got up onto the Sydney Harbour Bridge, all the light came in, and then you could just see all the runners from the half marathon crossing the bridge, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's amazing. So that was really, really cool, and that got the heart going. Anyway, got to the start, toilet, stretched and waited, and we were good to go. So in the race, I started behind the 3:15 paces. I think I crossed the line like 90 seconds after the guns. I ran at about 4:21 pace for the first 5K, probably a little too quick. There was a fair bit of elevation going up over the bridge, but then coming down the other side was really quick. But it felt comfortable. First drink station was an absolute nightmare. Came out of nowhere. You just came around a corner, and then all of a sudden there's a drink station, and you're all being pushed to one side of the road. And there were, thousands of people around you. So I missed a drink at that station. At that stage, I started to feel the need to pee. So at 7K, or 7.5K, which I think was the second aid station, I got a drink of water. There were toilets there, so I stopped. Felt like ages, but it actually wasn't. It was only like 40 seconds. I settled into a really good rhythm, running at about 4:22s, and that felt great. At about the 10 to 12K mark, I brought up to the 3:15 pace group, and this to me, this is my biggest mistake of the day. This is the one that I wish I could change. I honestly do. I wish I could go back and change this. I should have sat with them, but my ego got the better of me. 15Ks through to 20Ks, that 5K was tough. There was 60 metres of elevation gain in the 4Ks. You basically went from water level up to about 60 metres across the 5Ks, and it was brutal. Pacing showed I was at 4:30, so I was pretty controlled going up there, and I was just trying to hit the effort goal. I hit halfway in 1:34.46. Again, ego was getting better on me, and I was getting worse and worse because I started thinking, that's close to a 3:10 finish. That's not very good. It was a stupid thing to think. I think I started to pick up the pace without realising it. I hadn't lapped my watch properly, so it was my ego making decisions that I shouldn't have let it make. Anyway, I entered Centennial Park, which for most people was the hardest part of the race. There are a lot of people struggling by that stage. So I started running past a lot of runners who were blowing up. I saw Jolie, the other FTK runner, about 27.5K on an out and back, and she was clearly battling. So she was about a K up the road, so I thought, I could maintain that, catch it. If I could maintain my pace, I could catch her and we could run this thing in together. That was fine until 32K when my stomach did its first backflip. Tried peeing at the next toilet block because I thought, maybe that'll help. It didn't. I couldn't stomach the next gel. I had the first few mouthfuls and it came up. I was really struggling to take in water. Thought, I'll just keep moving forward, try not to throw up, and just keep jogging, keep running forward at a pace you can. The most demoralising moment of the whole thing came for me at the 34.5K mark when the 3:15 pace group went past me. That's when it really started to hurt. We headed out of Centennial Park and we're up a hill, and it was brutally hot and brutally hard. Like, seriously, I nearly cried when that 3:15 group went past. Like, I could have been sitting with you. I made the decision to run away from you, and now I'm paying for it. It was that moment where you make a choice, and it's a bad choice, and then you pay for it, and you get that instant karma. So instead of crying, I threw up, as you do. It was a really weird feeling because the minute I started jogging on, I thought, okay, maybe my stomach will start to feel good, but I lost all ab strength. Really couldn't hold myself up properly, so battled down Oxford Street. And then we turned into, this is Macquarie's Chair or something, and it was a brutal loop. There are a lot of people falling over. On the way back out, I fell because you had to go up a hill, down a hill, and then back up a hill to get out of there. I fell over on the way back up, about 2k to go. I just knew I just had to get home. Once we got out of there, it was downhill for pretty much most of the last 2k. I gave it everything. My last memory that I have from the event is coming around the corner and seeing the Opera House steps full of people, seeing people lining the street, and then seeing seeing the bridge and the harbour on the other side. Then that's it. Then I've got sketchy memories till well after the race. Know that I crossed the line in a 3:24:31. So if I look back at my initial goals, really, really happy with how I went. But again, because I let my ego get ahead of me, I'm a little bit disappointed in how I went. To wrap up, 3:24 was a bit of a beating for the ego. While I can see how it's a great achievement, and I intellectually I get that it's an awesome achievement, it's because it was my decision-making that caused that to be the case, and it could have been better, that I'm disappointed in myself. I could have mitigated that blow-up, and I probably could have come across the line in around 3:15 if I'd stuck with that group. But anyway, that's my choice. That was my decision making. That's the learnings of running a marathon. Next time, what would I change? Big thing, number one, is the day before. Just be a hermit. Just lock myself in a hotel room, eat a bunch of food, drink a bunch of water, and watch TV. That would be the big thing I would do differently, so that I was more prepared and ready to run the distance. Anyway, what's next? I don't know, and this is another thing that I've really been struggling with. This is why I haven't made many of these videos, because I just don't know what I want to do next. I'm lost. Another thing that I would have changed about next time is having something locked in for well down the track for next, to have something to work towards, because I'm really struggling with my running. I'm really struggling to get out the door and have any motivation to do anything. So what's next, I don't know. And if you've made it this far, you're probably a regular viewer of these and probably have some interest and would have some suggestions as to what I can do next. Not going to be a marathon, I know that much. I can't commit to it with my family. We did it, but it's not my time to do this sort of event. Maybe in a couple of years' time. So anyway, that's my thinking. Let me know in the comments if you've got any suggestions for what I should do next. But otherwise, that's me done. Max and I, who's been waiting diligently, are going to head back. Check him out. He's been gorgeous. Yeah, he's done a really good job. Anyway, we're going to sign out. See you in the next one. It'll be sooner than this one. I promise. Bye for now.